I am passionate about theater and the performing arts and what happens on stage, but I'm also quite focused on theater as social entrepreneurship, which is one of the first conversations that I had with Professor Palit, and looking at how students collaborate with each other in theater. I think that's my other big focus, is that theater is about creativity, it's also about collaboration, and it's about how you communicate with people in the world and what happens out of that conversation or through that communication. And so the conversation is about creativity, communication, and collaboration.
In universities across the country, you know, Princeton, Columbia, Duke, many different universities, college administrators are realizing that if they have a place that is creative, students who come there are able to express themselves, potentially grow in many different ways, but also that students themselves, really good students, want to go to places that allows them that freedom of expression. So from a purely marketing point of view, really, even just from a purely marketing point of view, they are looking to make their colleges more creative. They are spending a lot of money on their performing arts centers. And so this discussion has been, you know, it's going everywhere, and it doesn't have to be limited to performing arts center. It's in the student lounge, in classrooms. So Professor Kavanagh, Professor Bishop, and I, we have also been looking at how can we integrate this, you know, the findings that we get from this study, how can we integrate this into a classroom? For example, is it possible for us to have, like, for example, the Performing Arts Center has a theater. Can my marketing students help promote this theater and therefore get exposure on how to market you know, a program? Can the economics students from Professor Bishop's class examine the economics of budgeting of this theater program? And Professor Kavanagh's students actually get to perform or intern or, you know, do back stage work, you know, and therefore learn how to actually do a program. So these are the different ways we could perhaps get together. But in doing that, it is not that I really want my students only to learn how to market a program. I want them to learn how to be able to communicate with students from theater, with students from economics. And so this is how the real world is. You know, we are not living in sort of, you know, self-contained silos. We are always talking to people from different areas. And so this is going to give them a taste of this world.
As a result of us getting together, Professor Palit, Professor Bishop, and myself, and bringing together all of these different artistic directors from the CUNY Performing Arts Centers, something happened immediately. And that was the creation of the CPAC consortium, which is the CUNY Performing Arts Centers. They've now created a mission statement, and they're researching ways that they can do shared marketing, shared audience services, shared ticketing opportunities, and potentially even collaboration on bringing theater companies to the different performing arts centers. It's generated a lot of interest also outside of CUNY. So, for example, the NYSCA, New York State Council of the Arts, has gotten wind of our study, and they're very interested in looking at how can they support small theater companies coming and touring the different venues around CUNY. Because to date, what we've uncovered is that CUNY's performing arts centers really are under-recognized by the city and even by the university. And so what we've discovered is there are presidents of universities all over the country who are saying the performing arts centers are a very valuable resource for the university. Unfortunately, there has been a disconnect with students. And so we want to uncover how students feel about the Performing Arts Center and what are their opinions about work that they would like to see there, or how they would like to interact with the Performing Arts Center. And so that's one of the focuses that we have designed the survey around to understand the understanding that students have of the role the Performing Arts Center plays on our campus.
The student survey is looking to understand what our students feel about how they express themselves creatively. And it may come in many different forms which are not necessarily connected to a performing arts center. It could come any different ways they express themselves. We're interested in knowing how they interact with the Performing Arts Center. Do they feel it's a place that they can go to? What are some of the ideas that they have in terms of how they can, in the future, if it was really possible, how could they envision themselves interacting with the Performing Arts Center? How it could become more of a part of their lives? And for us, we are also looking at ways, what do they understand from the concept of a creative campus? You know, how do they define it? So these are some of the questions we are exploring in the study. It may be that the results that we get might feed into, you know, in different ways in our own curriculum. We might look at if there are any ways that the study could improve students' leadership skills, find ways by which they could actually interact with the outside world, you know, find ways by which they can intern. So there are many options that we haven't actually, it's going to be, it depends really on what we find.
Our aim is, you're right, it's not just to uncover how students do or would like to interact with performing arts centers on the CUNY campuses, but it's also how would they define a creative campus, and what ways do they define themselves as creative? Because it isn't just about the performing arts centers. It is about the digital age and about students creating their own MySpace pages and about their own blogs and about the ways that they interact with each other in student groups on campus. So for example, the Chinese culture group at BMCC's campus, they often do a lot of creative performing work. So it's not just limited to the theater student club, but you see performances happening all over campus in surprising ways or in surprising places. And also, obviously, in the way that students express themselves through their writing and the way that they collaborate with each other. One of our hopes is also to see how can Professor Bishop's economics students interact with Professor Palit's business management students in marketing, and how can they interact with my theater management students. So we're already trying to see how we can integrate the study into our curriculum so that there is collaboration and creativity happening in the classes and how they may overlap.
Because we had some money to do this study, we were able to give incentives to the respondents, and we felt that our students are always looking for some incentive, some cash money for buying books, you know. And so we were able to keep aside a couple of $100s for cash prizes for students. And so the students will have a draw, and the students whose names will get picked up, we'll pick up 2 student names from the BMCC students who have, completed the study, and 2 students will get cash prizes of $100 each.